Hi everyone, it's me again with a second update for you. But before I go into that update, after I did the last video, a couple of things that I had mentioned actually made me think that probably I should clarify or speak on it a bit more. So the first thing was I did mention about how, number one, that there are quite a number of visits, injections that you need to do. So when I went for my second visit at the center, I actually brought out my little huge pamphlet that they give you, and I found a list of all I can say is like it feels like 1,001 little different stuff that you need to do. So basically, it says that just for one cycle, and like I mentioned last time, ideally you'd like to get 10 eggs, but and if you can and only need one round, you're looking at almost $10,000. But if you need to go another round to get those 10, then they graduated up to almost 15,000. So what that 15,000 gives you is I'll have 7 office visits, I'll have 7 ultrasounds, and believe me, the rest of these I have no idea what they are, but looks like they may be medication. But there's a venipuncture, 9 of those, estradiol, 9 of those, progesterone, obviously a hormone, 9 of those, FSH1, LH, 5 of them, and a beta 1. And so then I have some monitoring fees, and these are the ones that are self-pay. So essentially, the first that I mentioned for you, which let me just try to do a little math here: 14, 27, that is 41, 42, 40. Yeah, so I'm looking at about 48 visits in total, and hopefully some of these mean that these injections I can do it on my own. I don't have to go into the office at all, because 41 is a bit much. Sorry, 47 is a bit much. Okay, so now for the monitoring, I have one retrieval. I have an ultrasound guidance for retrieval. There's an egg identification, and then they actually do the egg cryopreservation, and then there's egg storage after a year, rather this egg storage, one egg storage for a year, and then there's a cycle management fee, one of them. And so essentially, those procedures, embryology fees, they're not covered by insurance. So that's $3,000 out of my pocket. So the first monitoring fees, they will be covered by my insurance company, but they are subject to my deductible. So I have a $1,600 deductible, and until I reach that amount, they're not, my 80/20 is not kicking in. Where I pay 20%, and my insurance company pays 80. Okay, and the self pay that I mentioned, that's about 3,000, is actually paid of at the start of the cycle. So your first cycle. So once I have my next visit should be a consultation, where I start getting monitored. Then that's when that $3,000 is due. And now there are also some fees that I need to pay, but they're payable to the facility where you're going to be getting your procedure done. So in this case, it's going to be a hospital. So I have to pay for anesthesia $600, and facility fees, basically hospital fees, for $1,000. I'm looking at about 1,600, and I'm paying that directly to the hospital. And like I said, out of pocket, and it's due actually the day of my surgery. Okay. Then for all the medications I need to take, I'm looking at about between 3,000 to $5,000 just for all these injections that I need to do. And that's a lot. Now, the good thing that the nurse is also doing for me is she's actually checking with my my pharmacy plan to see, what kind of coverage I will have for these different, injections that I need to take. So, God willingly, it's a whole lot of coverage. So we'll see. Okay, so that is the, list of stuff that I'll be, that I need to do, or that I will be doing for this first cycle. Then the next thing was that I totally forgot about is actually that they give you a checklist. So my checklist, which thankfully I don't have to do all of them, is 3 pages long. So essentially, like the different kind of stuff that they list in here. For example, my first visit, I actually had a lot of these done. So on my first visit, they did they did all my blood work tests, including genetic testing. Now, the good thing is that they also tell you how many times you need to do this. So, for example, like checking my blood type, hemoglobin, that's you'll need to do that once. But then checking for like hepatitis B, CBC, HIV, that's yearly. And then for like rubella is every 5 years. Your TCH levels, it's every year. So they actually tell you how often you'll need to do this. So with my last visit, I actually had all of these done except one, because I guess it was not needed for me. Don't know why. And like I mentioned, we did like a genetic testing. It's called a genetic carrier testing. And so far, those were good. And then and then they also make you do a routine exam. So I got a routine physical done. They call it baseline USS, which is essentially every time. So, and this is actually what my last appointment was. So every time I have a cycle, they have to draw blood so that they get my baseline hormone level. So that's why they were suggesting, call us and come in between day 2 and day 3 of a period so we can get your baseline hormone levels. So that's what I had done. There's something that they do after pregnancy, but I'm not going through IVF, so I didn't need to do that. And so in my last visit on that day 2, day 3, they checked for the different hormones. And those were like, the FSH that I mentioned, LH, so all this different, hormone stuff that they checked for. Now, there was another, it's like a urine test that they thought I may need, but because I'm not doing this as IVF, they decided that I don't need to do it. Now, this was to check HSG, hysterosalpingogram. Don't know what that is. But anyway, so they did say that because, like I said, I'm not doing this to get pregnant, I'm doing it to, freeze my eggs for later. I didn't need to do that this time around. So that was off my list. Now, I do have a history of high blood pressure, and currently I am taking medication. So just to be safe, my doctor asked me to actually go to my general physician and get an EKG done. So I actually did get that EKG done last Friday, and everything is A-okay, like I knew it would be. Then you also need to get a pap smear. Now, luckily for me, I had already gotten my pap smear 2 weeks before I saw the specialist. So all I needed to do was to have them send it in. I'm really lucky in that both my general physician and the specialist and my gyno are all in the same building. Some of them actually on the same floor right next to each other. So, it was just a matter of like, hey, can you do this? They look at the other person like, okay, do you have this? Okay, then we'll give it to her. And that was it. So that was pretty simple for me. So right now I'm just waiting for my blood work, the results. And then once I get that in and I confirm that they did get my pap smear results and my EKG results, then I set up a meeting with the specialist for another consultation, and then we start talking about the next steps, which would be how's everything looking, when do we start doing the hormone injections and so forth. So that's the next step. Now, it was an interesting cycle this last month. Like I mentioned, or rather, maybe I didn't mention, but I have a history of endometriosis. And, with that condition, I have had like really, severe pain, very heavy periods, you know, like to the point of like adult, like there were times I'd have to honestly wear an adult diaper. It was that bad. Or even like there was a time I actually had to throw away my bed. It was that bad. So heavy bleeding. Um, so it has been. So I had a laparoscopy done. My second one was done in 2010, and it was after that I started going on. I went back on the pill, and that has really helped me. So 8 years in, I haven't had to have another laparoscopy, which was what I wanted. Not because of I have a history of high blood pressure. They weren't too keen on it, but being that you know I guess my need for it fluctuates. Some years I need it, some years I don't. We're feeling a little bit more comfortable with that. And I'm taking a very low dosage for the high blood pressure. So that's also helped my case. So they were great, go for it. So it's really worked for me. So now that I'm doing this process, it means that I can't be on the pill. Now, I wrongly assumed that my body will take time for it to, let all the hormones and everything flush out, all the help I was getting from the pill. So I wrongly assumed that it would take a while because it did not take a while. I had an interesting day on Tuesday, on the day of actually my second visit. Um, I got there. Luckily my doctor, this place they open at 6:30 in the morning, and so between the hours of 7 and 8, it's walk-in for you to come in and get whatever it is that you need to get done. Whether it's the ultrasound, whether it's the blood work, you can come in during that time. So it's very very easy for me to do this before work. And it's kind of hard to like trying to explain to your manager like why I'm going for all these doctor's appointments, because they do start to ask like, what's wrong, are you okay, do I need to worry, stuff like that. And I really don't want to have that conversation of, yeah, I'm getting my eggs frozen but I'm fine, nothing's going on. So being able to do this before work is really helpful. But I got in a little situation whereby I needed to kind of come up with an excuse, but luckily that day my manager decided to be in New York at that hour, so I kind of managed to you know, dip out of work for a little bit. Essentially, so my period decided that all the symptoms I had with endometriosis was going to come back that day. So I go for my appointment. Everything's good. They do the blood work, no problem. I get back to work, everything's good. So I get to work, it's about 7:30, 7:45. Now I left my house like 6:30, so it's not even been an hour. At about 8:30, I started noticing, there's a little, like, am I peeing on myself or something? Because there's a whole lot of flowing going on down there. So I decided to get up and to go to the bathroom to check. However, as I'm walking to the bathroom, I start feeling a flow going down my legs. And I was like, crap, I think I am having like some seriously heavy bleeding. And I just happened to choose that day to wear white sweater and a white dress. Because I assumed wrongly that it'll take a while before it becomes heavy as usual. But however, I decided to wear like the heavy tampon like I usually do, the very 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 heavy one, just in case. But it wasn't enough because 2.5 hours in, I did the fastest speed walking there was with legs tight. And for some reason that day, the two women in my department decided to work from the New York office. All the other men who sometimes work from the New York office decided to be in the Jersey City office that day. So I am like, please God, let there not be a stain at the back. Please let there not be a stain at the back, because I do not want to have to come back and face these people. So I end up getting into the bathroom and I didn't even have time to put the liner. Thank God I was the first one in that bathroom, because I plopped down and I look down and all I am seeing is my thighs covered with blood. My underwears are gone. It's just a done case. And then luckily my white dress had an inner lining, so the inner lining all red. So I was like, oh great. So what the hell am I going to do? Because I don't have a change of clothes. I don't have a change of underwear. And with it being this heavy, I definitely need more than a tampon. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just try and clean ourselves. So the rest of the time was just it was just like almost like a game of cat and mouse, whereby I figured, I'm gonna have to go in and get one of like those heavy, towels that they usually have there for you to, wipe your hands after you wash them. So I had to kind of like time it whereby, you know, okay, there's no one in the bathroom, no one's coming in, so run out really quick, get that paper, wet it a bit, then run back in so you can clean yourself. Okay, the first run was not enough. Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully no one comes in, dash out, do the same thing, come back in, clean yourself. Okay, managed to get that clean. I was like, okay, so yeah, the mall is not about to open until 11. There's no CVS close by. So you're pretty much gonna have to be sitting around here feeling dirty and icky and yucky until this freaking mall opens. So that's like, okay, fine. We've tried and cleaned ourselves up. There's nothing we can do about this dress. We're gonna have to just try and hopefully last for another hour and a half or so until the mall opens. And so then I'm like, okay, fine then. I'll just have to do that. So I go to I go to pick up my tampon to wear it. Then my tampon decides it's going to fall off the ledge where it was in and roll all the way out of the bathroom stall to go right underneath the sink. So I couldn't just like reach underneath it, right? I was just like, God, please, like I really don't need this to be happening. I can't. So once again, just trying to dodge, trying to listen and please hope and there's no one walking nearby. Okay, then let me go and try and rush and get this tampon and come back in. So luckily I managed to avoid, like, honestly, as soon as I closed my stall, three people walked in. I was like, thank you, Jesus, I don't have to deal with that. So I checked the back of my dress. Luckily, no stains. Good. So so I pretty much had to sit around work waiting for the mall to open. I go to the mall. I had to buy new underwear. I had to buy like heavy duty, like those like level 4, always maxi pads that I pretty much might as well be under it because they cover you from very front to the very back. So I figure with this at least I am covered for maybe 2 hours, so change quite a bit. So so the rest of the day, and I live far from work too. So in the back of my mind, I was also like, how do I explain that I need to go home and work from home when I don't look sick, or but and also I can't say that I need to rush home, take a shower, then come back to work. That's at least an hour 30 minute ride each way. I just don't have that kind of time. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna feel icky and yucky for the rest of the day. Thank God you drove to work today. So you cleaned yourself up as much as you can. You have new underwear and all that. So tough it out for the rest of the day. So when it came time to leave work, I'm telling you, a shower has never felt so good like it did last Thursday. It felt so good. But you know what? The thing that was very interesting after having such, I mean, it was a gush of blood. But after that, it was like I didn't even have a period. Because usually, like on the second to last day, that is when the pain comes in and it's just horrible. And my period was barely there after that. So I was kind of like, well, so did everything I was supposed to have for all those days just come in at once? But I do have to say the pain. I started getting that pain that brings you down to your knees. And, I have to say it is not as bad as it was. As I remember, you know, when I last, was not on the pill, but it is definitely one of those that come out of nowhere and just, you can't control your reaction to it. And when I say it brings you to your knees, oh yeah, you are reaching out for a chair to stable you because you're about to fall. So, I survived. It wasn't too bad, but some embarrassing moments too. So note to self, don't wear white when you're on your period, and definitely carry a change, or rather, don't even carry, just leave them at work, a change of clothes. And as my best friend told me, try and make them the same color. So, which basically means black jeans. I'll just start wearing black jeans for 3 or 2 days straight at work. And so that if I need to if I need to change, no one knows the wiser. So, but yeah, so that was what my last week and my second appointment went. So hopefully sometime this week I should get the results of my blood work. So far everything looks good, and so I will get that and then set up an appointment with my doctor to discuss the next steps. So yeah, so hopefully I will have another update for you guys in a week or so. Yeah, so also, like I've mentioned, this many times, this is a really expensive thing, and my insurance unfortunately doesn't cover much. I actually did set up a GoFundMe, so anybody willing to help a sister out, really appreciative of it. So in the write down the sorry in the about this video section, there's the link for the GoFundMe. But once, as usual, feel free, leave me a message. You have any questions, anything you'd want me to speak on a bit more about, just whatever, just leave me comments and I will be happy to, respond to it. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your week. I know I will. All right. Have a good one. Bye.